back to another Flash episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Flash titled The Reverse Flash Returns. And this was an episode I've been really looking forward to ever since last week. You know, when they showed that little teaser at the end of last week's episode with Reverse Flash coming back. And I like seeing the actor who played like Eobard Thawne come back because I liked seeing that version of the character. Not necessarily Harrison Wells' version of it, which I still enjoyed. But I liked seeing how they're gonna explain how he was still alive, and the way they explained it in this episode was kind of like okay, they just wanted to bring him back or whatever, just so they can say like, oh, this is his origin story. But whatever. But overall, I thought tonight was really solid and an enjoyable episode. I have some like minor problems with it as a whole episode, but overall, I thought it was really enjoyable. So I thought I would start tonight out with some of the things that I had some problems with in the episode. I felt that the use of Reverse Flash in an episode where they made it seem like it was going to be like a Reverse Flash centric episode, they didn't really explain how or why he came to the present very well. I don't necessarily thought he was utilized as much as I would have liked him to. And the fact that they had like, I don't know, and then bringing Tina McGee into it, I just feel like, I don't know, they're like, this episode, like there's aspects of it that were just like a little like, to me. And the whole like Patty Spivot angle of it, where they're like trying, when there's obviously like the tension between Barry and Patty, since they basically ended things, and she was like, oh, I'm leaving to Midway City and blah blah blah. And of course Barry's like, oh, I can't tell her I'm the Flash. In the last week he was like, oh, I'm gonna tell her just to protect her. I'm gonna tell her. And he's like, oh, I can't tell her anymore. Oh. But whatever. And then I just didn't like how like Barry was kind of being like all whiny this episode, because then it gets kind of annoying because it's like, so like he can feel guilty about lying to Patty, but he's not gonna have that same guilt about lying to Iris. Like that was just something that kind of bothered me as I'm watching the episode. But you know, whatever. But other than those things, I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I wish there was more of what was going on. I mean, I say that I want more Reverse Flash, but at the same time, like, as I'm watching this stuff going on with Iris and her mom, who's dying, and when we're seeing those few scenes of, like, her in the hospital with her and Joe, and her mom, and talking to her, talking about how, like, she's glad she was there for her final moments. They can, you know, say their goodbyes and tell each other how they really feel. And just seeing Iris kind of, like, being mature and being like, you know, I wish you would have told us sooner so I could have, like, forgiven you sooner, like I'm forgiving you now. And seeing that, like there is growth in Iris as a character, considering she was so, like, you know, like, hesitant and, like, wanting her mom in her life, like, for understandable reasons. But seeing her and how she reacted, I thought that was very mature. And I think that was a development in the character that I think they should do more of in the show when it comes to her and other characters as well. So I enjoyed seeing that. Seeing Cisco learning how to control his vibing powers. Because the whole like vibe thing, I feel like has been like a really slow burn ever since they introduced his powers last season. I mean, obviously the show isn't about him, but like I would like to see more of Cisco's powers and him being able to control that and ultimately becoming vibe. So I enjoyed seeing that in him, you know, like, vibing and seeing Reverse Flash and them going into the time vault. And I kind of understand why they had Wells put on the Reverse Flash costume, but it's like at that point, it's like, why do you keep it? And I did like that scene where, you know, they capture Reverse Flash, and he's in, you know, the pipeline, and Cisco's talking to him. The first thing he says is, "How do you get that suit in the damn ring?" Like that's really like all he's really asking about. I enjoy that because of course, like being a fan of the Flash, like, you know, like in the Flash comics, like Flash keeps his suit in the Flash ring, and Reverse Flash did that last season. So, of course, Cisco's interested, and he's probably going to be doing that at some point. So I enjoyed seeing that. Reverse Flash in this episode, the actor who portrayed him, I really liked his performance in it, and seeing how it's a different actor, but it still feels like the same Reverse Flash. Especially when they show that scene between him and Barry in the pipeline, when Barry's like confronting him, and Reverse Flash is explaining why he was obsessed over him, and how he wanted to be the Flash, and how he looked at history and he found out he was going to be the Reverse Flash, because that's exactly how his origin is in the comics. I mean, we've known this show has been like really accepting of its comic book origins, but seeing that, like, as a comic book fan, like that, it was kind of like a geeky kind of moment for me. And seeing that, I really geeked out and I really enjoyed that. Another big thing in this episode that I really was caught off guard by is the whole aspect of like, okay, the whole Jay Garrick is sick, and they're trying to find a cure for him other than, like stopping Zoom, and they're like, oh, we got to find the Earth One counterpart of Jay, and we find out that his Earth One counterpart is actually Hunter Zolomon, who in the comics is Zoom. And so I wonder if they're ever actually going to pursue that angle of it. I mean, it's definitely a departure from the comics itself, but seeing that they are, like, introducing that character in this, and that he is, like, a variation of, Jay Garrick, I would love to see if they really ever go down the line, or maybe it was just an Easter egg for us fans. But knowing the show, I feel like it'll be touched on, like, down the line. And it'd be cool to see Teddy Sears, the guy who plays Jay, like, as a villain, because I think he can pull that off really well. I mean, the only other show I've seen him in is American Horror Story from the first season. There are some, like, dark aspects to that character from that show, so I'd love to see him as a potential villain down the line. Maybe not necessarily a Zoom character, but another, like, Reverse Flash kind of character. But, that was a really cool Easter egg for us fans. Seeing Iris and Wally bonding over the death of their mother, and seeing that, like, while Wally can have his problems with Joe, understandable why he feels the way he does towards Joe at the moment, but seeing that him and his sister can come together in a time when, their mom's sick, and I don't know, the scene that they can get over any gripes that they have, maybe with their parents, but just be like, hey, like, our mom's dying, we gotta come together for this, and these are her final moments, we gotta do this for her. And seeing that was really, I thought it was really nice and touching. And another scene I really enjoyed was, Joe's talk with Barry towards the end of the episode, where he's like, you're gonna be a Flash for a long time, so obviously, you're like, throughout your life, you're gonna have to make tough decisions, make sacrifices for yourself. And just that scene, just Joe being Joe, like, I feel like we haven't had enough of that stuff this season, because I feel like, I don't know, the season has kind of been, like, all over the place, like, from episode to episode. But seeing how it's come back to kind of like its emotional core, I enjoyed seeing that that exchange between Joe and Barry. And yeah, overall tonight's episode was really, really enjoyable. Nothing too eventful for the most part, but yeah, and despite my few issues with it as an episode, I really, really enjoyed it. And obviously, they're leaving the door open for Reverse Flash to come back. Of course, they had to do that in order to save Cisco, but it was really just that way they can use the character again in the future. And I really hope they do, because like, they even said, like, the Reverse Flash is, like, Barry's, like, longtime rival, so more than likely we're going to see more of him down the line. Maybe not necessarily this season. I mean, I hope maybe this season, but more than likely down the line again. But yeah, I think that would be it for me. So, again, really, really solid episode. I'm cutting it kind of short because there's not a whole lot to really talk about. But yeah, so I think that's going to be it for me, guys. So if you guys like what you see here, go ahead and hit subscribe below. I do review all the superhero shows and stuff every week, Monday through Thursday. I review Supergirl on Mondays, Flash on Tuesdays, Arrow on Wednesdays, the new DC show, Legends of Tomorrow on Thursdays, and I have a lot of other stuff in between, like trailer reviews and movie reviews and stuff like that. So those are all up on my channel if you guys will check that out. So yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. So until next time, have a good one.